Modica.
What?
Linda Cataldo Modica. That brings all
And
all the Sicilian out of me.
what's the title of the workshop?
It's Atomic Appalachia, and the Christian Peacemaker Team's part in exposing the fact that uranium weapons are manufactured in the heart of atomic Appalachia. So yes, the structure that I had pondered on for this workshop would be to start with the fact that uranium weapons are being manufactured in Appalachia, southern Appalachia, where we live, that they are essentially nuclear waste that is being exploded onto communities abroad, but also being tested in the United States, manufactured in the United States, where the waste is being disposed of into our streams, onto our land, into our air, and that there are a number of communities around the country. Colony, New York is one of the ones where most of the research has been done, medical research has been done on the workers and on the effects, health effects on the community, but that these health effects are real and serious and long lasting. So I'd like to start with depleted uranium, and also some of the moral issues, and why we as individuals, as Americans, as good citizens, as people of conscience, want to be. You're welcome to sit wherever you like. Ought to be outraged that our government continues with this truly diabolical, in the sense of the word, the true sense of the word, that nuclear waste is being fashioned into weapons and then disposed of in the name of war.
It's really an international crime, isn't it? I mean, according, it breaks breaks all of the international codes of like intergenerational weapons, impact, ad nauseum infinitum.
Exactly. I had the good fortune of presenting to a class at King College, which is a Baptist school.
Yeah, where is King College?
It's up in almost to the Virginia border, in Bristol, Tennessee. And because it was a school founded on the religious beliefs of a Christian denomination, I decided to go in there with, even though I'm Catholic, put my Catholic hat on, and speak about the issues of just war, and about the genesis of the Geneva Conventions. So as a result of that talk, because I was going to give that talk to this class, I decided that I would do some research, and so I went back to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and researched a little bit about St. Augustine's just war theory and just war principles, and just to refresh all of our memories, we're talking the 300s to 354 to 430 A.D. was when St. Augustine lived, and of course he didn't become a saint until probably over a century later, maybe longer than that. But anyway, his treatise on just war became the basis, really, if you look at St. Augustine's just war doctrine, that the damage inflicted by the aggressor on the aggrieved nation had to have been lasting, grave, and certain. Otherwise, an exercise against the aggressor would not be considered just. The means of putting an end to that aggression has to be shown to be practical and effective, there have to be serious prospects for success. Otherwise, you shouldn't go into it. Otherwise, the war should be considered unjust, and immoral. And the use of arms must not produce evils and disorders graver than the evil to be eliminated.
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it?
And so here we have a weapon that contains uranium. Now, I'm going to give myself a dope slap if I use the word DU anymore. Because
DU?
depleted uranium.
Oh.
DU stands for depleted uranium. And most of
It's a misnomer, is it not?
Yes. Most of the work of us uranium weapon campaigners has been opposed to depleted uranium. But we're coming to find out, and actually this alarm was raised back in 2007 by people I know, Mohammed Meraki in particular, who is an Afghani American who has done extensive research in Afghanistan on the impact of the weapons used there. That it's not, we have been arming these weapons not only with uranium left over from the enrichment process that is called depleted of most of the uranium-235. We've also been using apparently some low enriched uranium, and we've also been using some natural uranium because it's easier to disguise the signature. When the scientists go in and they are not able to, and they take soil samples or dust samples around the places where these weapons have been exploded, it's easy to make the calculation of the ratio between the U-238 and the U-235, and you can see depleted uranium like that. Any chemist, just about any chemist can do that kind of work. So, not wanting to be found out, and this is as one worker at a congressional office that I had spoken with years ago said, this is Agent Orange all over again. That the government is in the business of hiding what devastation it is wreaking not only on its own soldiers but on the population at large.
Is that uranium? Oh, excuse me.
Just a quick question, and don't forget that. But the term depleted uranium, like we would agree, is like a misnomer. But really, it's called that. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's just because it's no longer efficient to be able to be used inside a reactor. It's still highly radioactive. I mean, it's still very radioactive.
It's still
just
uranium.
It's still uranium. It's still radioactive. It just can't be used in the reactors anymore.
That's right. It's what it is uranium that has gone through the enrichment process. And during the enrichment process, what happens is that the U-235, the fissile and most useful of the isotopes, is increased in percentage through the enrichment process. It isolates the U-235, puts that aside, and more is sent through, more U-235 is collected out of the uranium that is put as the input, and the output is more enriched in U-235. So instead of being 0.7%, as is in natural uranium, it comes up to 4% or 5%. So then in the reactor, the fuel in a nuclear reactor, the fuel then is able to split and create heat, and which is as Einstein said, an awfully expensive way to boil water, which is all reactors are. So what's left over from the enrichment process. So in that way, that's why I consider it to be nuclear waste, because it is waste. It's the waste product that is not usable for anything else other than for some. There are some peaceful uses of depleted uranium. It's used in to make heavy things like drill bits, which then, you know, bore through rock and earth and minerals, and so for that purpose, it's very useful.
So just to clarify for myself, what I'm hearing is that this so-called depleted uranium has been weaponized, and
Yes.
it's being used all over in many of these wars and conflicts and occupations,
Exactly.
leaving lasting damage for generations. But it's a byproduct, it's a waste product of nuclear power,
Yes,
and then how...
and also of nuclear weapons.
And of
production.
nuclear weapons. So
Right.
it's like we're taking a waste product that is difficult to store and contain. And
Exactly.
we're spewing it around the world as a weapon of lasting and indiscriminate destruction. Would that be...
That's beautifully accurate.
Plus the fact that it's a heavy, you know, it's tough. It's a heavy. It's like, you know, it's an armor. I mean, it's fashioned into an armor-piercing ordnance that just ding, you know, like
That's
take
right.
a tank, reinforced metal. And it really doesn't. In my understanding, it really doesn't explode when it goes through. It's just the kinetic energy, just like, you know, vaporizes. There is an explosive force.
Yes, and it's what's called pyrophoric.
Yeah.
Which is a unique characteristic of uranium, in that friction, just the friction of the missile going through the air and then through the target causes it to burst into flames. And the flame is extremely hot, so that the heat causes the pulverization to minute sizes of anything that it hits. So let's say it's a missile is blown into a reinforced steel concrete building. The steel, the concrete, everything that the building is made from then is also vaporized together with the depleted uranium weapon.
As well as any occupants.
Yes, it's a very effective weapon, to be sure, but it's to go back to the issue of morality. The life, the half-life, meaning in X number of billions of years, in this case 1.5 billion years, the uranium will have still half of its radioactivity. So because of the longevity, just to use a more common expression, the longevity of the radioactivity of the uranium weapon that was vaporized, and because this vapor then is able to be spread over an area, whatever, however the wind chooses to blow, and in cases like the Middle East, in Iraq in particular, where dust storms occur, this is how the area has existed for millennia. That dust now is also collecting with it the uranium dust, which in some people's lexicon is called poison dust.